to talk to you very quickly about having the courage to say no and not give an explanation. Hey auntie, how you doing? We're going to be talking about how to say no and not give an explanation. So what I plan to do is actually start a new series. You guys know I love series. So I'm going to start a series called The Bold Life, right? It's The Bold Life. You finally did it. All right, my cousin said he finally did. It's important to be able to say no. And I'll tell you, if you've ever had a hard time saying no, I think that learning how to say no and not feel bad about it, learning how to say no and not give some long drawn out explanation is the first step to really finding your voice. And I think all of those things are so important if you're wanting to have fearless, courageous, bold living. And it's time for us to do that, right? I think that we're in a time and a space where it's important that we understand that it's important for us to bet on us, right? It's important for you to bet on you and for you to, move forward and pursue the things that God, the things that He has for you. So today we're gonna talk about how to find your voice. Now, sometimes saying no is literally being blunt and saying no. Sometimes saying no, at the end of what it is that you want to say, no is really the final thing, but maybe you have other words to say. You know what I mean? Like maybe there are other ways that you're needing to say no, but maybe you're saying no to a situation. Maybe you're saying no to, you don't appreciate the way something is happening. Learning how to say no without giving some long, drawn out explanation is necessary. Why is it necessary? Number one, you need to be able to sleep at night. Have you ever found yourself giving into what people want for you, they want from you? You give into what everybody wants from you, and then you find yourself not able to sleep at night. You find yourself upset. You feel like you've been duped. Nobody wants to feel like that, right? So it's important for us to live a bold life, and oftentimes you don't get exactly where you want to get when you are not bold, right? It's important that we understand it's important for us to be advocates for ourselves, right? Absolutely. Auntie said, say no and have a peace about it. So if you're wondering, okay, well, how do I find my voice? This is the way I feel about it. I feel like our voice is God's gift to us, and us utilizing our voice is the gift that we give to the world, right? It's what we give to the world, and us utilizing our voice and being bold with what God has given to us. It's really us displaying what He's given us and us giving that back to Him. But really, you using your voice and being your authentic self is the gift that you give to yourself, and it's the gift that you give to the world. So if you're trying to figure out, how do I find my voice? How do I begin walking in just the realness of who I want to be? Find your voice, and the first way to do that is to be authentic. If you find yourself, I talked about it earlier this year about being a people pleaser, right? I'm the worst case scenario. You look at people pleaser in the dictionary, it is me, all sitting right next to a honey with a big cheese on my face. Actually, it would be a frown, because I'm a people pleaser, and then I get upset about it when I give into what other people want from me, and I know it's not something that I wanted for myself. So the first thing you got to do is learn, not even learn, accept what is your authentic self. What is it? What are the things that you like? What is it that you don't like? What are the things that you're willing to stand for? What is it that you're not willing to stand for? So that when somebody confronts you with something that is contrary to that, you don't have a problem saying no. There's nothing wrong with saying no. Yes, so you've got to be authentic. You'll find it easier to say no when you recognize what truly gets on your nerves and what bothers you. All right. Yes, Philip is saying, I need to hear this because I always put my job before everyone and everything, but when I needed time for myself, I wasn't getting the same energy back. Hello, you got to learn how to say no. And when people are used to you always saying yes, and people are always used to you giving in, people will make you feel bad about you not being that person. People will make you feel like you're not a team player. I'm sure, Philip, when you actually said no, they probably looked at you like you slapped them in the face. My answer is no. I'm not saying you don't ever give an explanation, but if I would say this, if you have to give an explanation, because sometimes it is necessary, if you give an explanation without leaving it as a question. You don't, yes, exactly. You set boundaries for yourself. That's important. So if I'm giving you an explanation for why I don't want to do something, or why I'm choosing to do something a certain way, I'm giving you an explanation, but I'm not leaving it open. I'm not leaving things open for discussion, because sometimes the way we mess ourselves up is that we'll say no, we give an explanation, but we do it in such a way that it's almost like we're asking a question. right? Like it's the intonation of your voice is how, you ask a question, you're not firm in what you say. You don't have to be nasty to say no. I'll tell you, I had a situation, a couple of weeks ago where I was asked to step outside of what it was that I was doing. Number one, I was not comfortable with what I was asked to do. I wasn't comfortable. And number two, I didn't want to do it. Number three, it was not a requirement of mine that I do it. Okay. I honestly felt disrespected, that I was literally interrupted in my space. I was in the process of teaching, right? So for those who don't know what I've been doing, I was brought in by some schools in Pennsylvania to create a dance curriculum. So in addition to, the businesses that I run and what have you, it was just a beautiful situation. So I'm excited to get back to, one of my first loves, which is dance, and being able to create that for young people. But I found myself in a situation where it was going to put me at a deficit to say yes, right? So it was presented to me like, hey, would you like to do this? And I said, no. And the person was upset. And I looked at them and I was, no. I said, well, and I threw it back at them. Well, you asked me, so that means I can say no, right? You know what I mean? Were they happy about it? No, they weren't happy about it. So when I gave the explanation, Listen, you're putting me in a position where it's making me not be on top of my game. You're pulling me away from what I need to do literally for hours, because you want me to help you when really there's somebody else that could be and should be doing that, right? So it's important for you to learn how to say no. I wasn't nasty about it. There was no need for me to be nasty about it. At the end of the day, my answer was no. At the end of the day, I wasn't going to lose I wasn't going to lose any position. I wasn't going to lose any finances by saying no. But what I kept was my peace, right? No. This does not work for me. The other thing in you being authentic is understanding what is acceptable to you, what is comfortable for you. Stop faking for everybody. Hey, Sharon, how you doing? Love you. Hey, Aurelius, I love you and miss you too. Absolutely. You got to come see me, honey. I'm in Philly, like all week now, so I'm really close to you. Right? So again, being authentic is understanding and not faking for yourself, right? So if something doesn't feel good, when did it ever become a problem for you to tell somebody, look, I'm not comfortable with that? Why do we feel like that's a problem? For those of us who are people pleasers, we feel like it puts us in a position of weakness if we admit that something makes us uncomfortable, if we admit that we don't like something. That puts you in a position of power. Number one, because you know what you like and what you don't like. You know what you're willing to accept and what you're not going to accept. You know what you're comfortable with and what you are uncomfortable with. So when you're uncomfortable with something, why would you say yes to it in the first place, right? Now, here is the difference. I believe that when God is ready to elevate us, sometimes we are put in a position to go to the next level, and sometimes that feels uncomfortable. I'm not talking about that uncomfortable. I'm talking about an uncomfortable that causes you to compromise who you are as a person. If it causes you to compromise what it is that you have to do, if it's causing you to compromise your task, because again, for me, it was compromising what I'd been hired to do. I've been brought in to do a job, and now you're asking me to step away from what you hired me to do. You were impressed by this one thing that I do, but now you're telling me that you need me to step away from that. That does not work for me, right? And it was okay for me to say that. That doesn't work. And then when you can say that to yourself, it puts you in a position of power. Why? Because when I did give an explanation, I was able to give the explanation and stand flat-footed on it. I didn't give an explanation and ask them to buy into what was uncomfortable for me. I set a boundary. I set a line in the sand, and I let it be known, this has crossed the line. Now, this is what I'm going to tell you. Now, this doesn't necessarily always happen for people, right? But sometimes you do take a risk when you have to be your authentic self. But again, you have a peace about it at the end of the night. And I'll tell you, a person that I answered to came back to me and said, you know what? Never stop advocating for yourself. Because I actually said to them, listen, you're putting me, I'm a team player. I love where I'm at. I love this opportunity, right? And it's a great opportunity, because it really is. I wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't, right? And one day I'm going to tell you guys about everything that has been sacrificed for this moment. But I'm grateful for this opportunity, right? But You're putting me in a position where I have to advocate for myself. I told them that. You keep putting me in this position, I have to advocate for myself. And this is not comfortable for me because you hired me to do one thing. You're asking me to step completely out of the scope of what you've asked me to do, but you're going to expect me to show up 100% to do what you hired me to do, right? You're paying me some good money, boo. You're paying me good money to do this thing. And now you're telling me to do something that's not even in my job description, right? I'm uncomfortable with that. And that is putting me in a position where I can't give you my best. That was my explanation. We didn't even have, and once I said that, they took a moment, they stepped back. Because I ended up having to talk to 2 different people. They took a moment, they stepped back, they said, okay, I'm going to get back to you. When they got back to me, it was in my favor. Is everything going to always be in your favor? No, not necessarily, right? But then you have a decision to make, right? You can make a decision from there. But either way that it went, I put it out there, what was comfortable for me, what was uncomfortable for me. And I did it flat-footed, and I did it without compromising myself. So again, if you give an explanation in such a way that you're not compromising how you feel. Saying no, don't compromise yourself, right? Don't do that. Philip says, because we put ourselves outside, put our outside situations to lead our decisions, especially at work. Example, finances and family. Absolutely. So if you're trying to figure out, is this an opportunity for me to say no? Should I say no? That's a perfect explanation right there, Phil. It's like if you allow your outside sources, these outside influences to lead to all of your decisions, and sometimes we just have to bite the bullet. I'm not saying that, right? Be smart about it. However, right? If it is causing you to totally compromise who you are, what you stand for, if you're having to go against, being good for your family, all those things, you might need to consider saying no, right? So if you want to have a bold life, living bold is, again, understanding your authentic self and finding your voice and utilizing your voice, right? Because when you do that, you go to sleep at night and you feel good. The difference between those of us who are fearless and those who are not is because when you're fearless, you move different. You speak different. You carry yourself different. People understand. They can't come to you just any sort of way because you have standards and you have boundaries, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? I had to contend with the fact that, look, people are going to think that maybe Tamika is just an angry black woman. I'm not an angry black woman. I'm just telling you no. People tell me no all the time. Do I die? Did you die though? No. If you tell somebody no, they're going to find another solution for it. It's really that simple. So if you want to have bold living, if you want to live courageous, learn how to live in your authentic self. Learn how to exercise your own truth. And you're going to find yourself being much happier for that. So again, this is a series. So today is about finding your voice and learning how to say no without an explanation. And again, I should say it's learning how to say no without giving an explanation that allows people to argue with you about it. Like, we're not arguing about this. No, this doesn't work for me. No. And then once you've given your explanation, if you decide, you know what, this is a situation where I need to stand down and this is a fight that I don't need to fight, then fine. But as long as you feel comfortable at the end of the day with the decisions that you've made, then you've done the right thing. So I hope that this is going to be a jump start to courageous living for everybody. Listen, it's time for us to bet on ourselves, right? Bet on you. I don't care if you're working, right? Like, Phil, did you die? People tell me no all the time. Does it make me angry? I mean, here's the other thing about courageous living, and we're going to talk about this. Maybe this will be the second part tomorrow. It's learning how to ask for things, right? Like, I'm learning how to ask for stuff and understand people might say no. Am I going to die if you say no? No, I'm not going to die. I've learned, what's the worst that can happen? They said no. Okay. Well, you said no. I didn't die, right? So people will get over it. Are people going to be angry with you because you're moving different? Absolutely. So what? They're going to keep living and you're going to have peace of mind. I'm trying to tell you, I've had a lot of people upset with me because I said no. You'll get over it. And I'm still living, and I'm living carefree. I'm stress-free because I told you no to something I didn't want to do in the first place. Baby, it's time for us to be stress-free, right? It's time for us to have stress-free living, and live courageously. When you live courageously, you do somewhat march to the own beat of your drum, right? It doesn't matter that you have a job. If you got a job somewhere, you're living within your truth. But just because I have a job doesn't mean that it gives everybody the right to step all over me. Absolutely not, right? I was speaking to a friend today. Somebody was asking him to do crazy stuff. And he actually turned to the person and was like, are you serious? Are you going to lose your job because you asked somebody if they're serious? No. Like, everybody doesn't have the right to tell you what to do. You know what I mean? Like I said, you got to be smart about the things that you do. But again, learn how to say no without the explanation. Learn how to say no without losing your sleep. Learn how to say no without feeling bad about it, because the world is going to still continue turning. Listen, I love you guys. Make sure you tune into I Worship 96 Radio tonight. I'm telling y'all, the radio station is on and popping. Some really great things there. We got a full night tonight for you. So go to my radio station, iworship96.com. We've got several shows that are taking place on tonight. So y'all, we are your station for the best in indie and mainstream gospel and Christian music. It is the perfect backdrop to your day. You want some encouragement during the day? Turn on iworship96.com. We got a phone app, so you can do it discreetly from your phone. You can do it on your computer. You have a cookout that's taking place. You need some good music. We have music playing 24/7. Put some Jesus in your life, honey. I Worship 96. Oh, I love you too, Phil. Yes, little cousin. So glad that, God dropped it in my spirit to say to y'all, I love you guys. You were created to make God famous. You were created to make God famous. I'll say that again, because that's my tagline, honey. Remember, I love you. You were created to make God famous. I want you to live courageously. I want you to live bold. And you guys have a blessed day. Until next time.